So.
Right. But, you know, another question that, because there's an interesting tension here between the instantaneous, timeless nature of a transcendent experience and it being ramified through time in a life. And we touched on this in a sense before we started recording, that you know, this question that you're studying now of what is the ongoing experience of transcendence as distinct from these momentary strong peak experiences.
Yes. Well, you know, there has been a lot of study of mystical experiences, you know, obviously starting from William James and Walter Stace in the 60s. Mystical experiences, religious experiences, spiritual experiences, peak experiences, and I have some thoughts about it. I read a lot of the material, a lot of the research. I mean, one of the interesting features of such experiences is their ineffability, undescribability. So people come back and they say, I have no words, there are no words to describe what I know or what was revealed to me. I mean, the other interesting thing is that people don't say, I had an experience. They say, something was revealed to me. I knew, or I know. So there is a noetic quality there, not an experiential quality, based on people's, you know, testimonies of what happened in those events. But they say, I knew, I realized, it was revealed to me, it's completely clear to me, something that is of utmost importance and significance, and I don't know how to describe it. I have no words for it. There are no words for it. And then many people go on and write books and develop a whole conceptual framework and give retreats and talks and workshops, you know, for the rest of their life about what they said was ineffable and undescribable and beyond that. So there's a paradox there. And what I think, so I think there is an interesting interplay here between what happens during the event, let's call it enlightenment or unitive consciousness, and what happens when one, so to speak, comes back, returns to the relative world of concepts, language, self, and others. So I haven't developed the idea fully, but I think that a lot of what gets revealed to us is not when we are in the state of unitive consciousness, but during the transition into that state and coming back from that state, if that makes sense.
Well, I understand what you're saying, but I'm not, I'd like you to expand on it.
Yeah, I mean, I would just say that it makes a kind of sense to me in that purely in that state, the mind wouldn't be functioning in the way that it ordinarily functions. And it's only when you're in a kind of a transition zone between the functioning of the mind and the direct experience of the state that you could potentially form sufficient conceptual structures to even have a memory of what happened.
Yes, exactly. So, which means that during that, in that liminal state between normal state of consciousness and unitive consciousness, that's when our concepts and language and rational thinking comes in contact with something which is beyond it, beyond time and space and self and others. And So that it's during that time that some transformation occurs in our conceptual thinking and in our, that's where things really happen, is not in that state of unitive consciousness or oneness, because not, you know, there's nothing, it's kind of out of the world of time and space. So and clearly out of the world of language and concepts. So it's only when we come back or when we make the transition that something that is of value or that we can work with in the world of time and space and language can occur. And that's where and when our psychological and cultural conditioning determines what we will do with what happened. So if I am a devout Christian, I would interpret it in one way. If I'm a shaman in Brazil, I would interpret it differently. If I'm a Viking 1,000 years ago, or a Bushman in Africa, I would interpret it in different ways depending on my cultural and psychological conditioning and what's available for me in the world of time and space that can kind of relate to that event of unitive consciousness. Does that make sense?